You see, my mom, exactly 11 years ago, had breast cancer. And the three girls flew across the country to visit her at her home. And Mom felt bad that she couldn't make her trip better because she just found out that she had cervical cancer too. But we couldn't have come at a better time. And she had procedures, and she had surgeries, and she had some radical hysterectomy, and all the cancer was gone. She was in the clear. So for a decade, she went to the doctor, they found no cancer in her, and all seemed well. She had beaten a killer. When I was almost killed in a car accident, I had head trauma, no fractured bones except for my skull. They never told me, just my family but not me, the patient, that I'm expected to have a seizure within 6 months of my accident. I had a grand mal seizure 7 months after I was almost killed. No one explained to me what was happening. I had to figure it all out as I went along. Well, a decade after my mom's bouts with cancer, she went to the doctor again. She had a fever, she felt tired, and they said, well, it's funny. You've got all the symptoms, and most women who've had as much cancer in their history as you've had, well, they're likely to get leukemia. And she did. And when she found out at her home in Southwest Florida, she traveled to University of Chicago Hospital. I hear that's a good hospital, you know. And she got prepared for chemo. She was in the hospital shorter than me. Damn, I shouldn't be so self-centered that way. But she had chemo, she lost her hair. And with her new crew cut, she had this, as it was growing back, she looked just like her brother, Uncle Pete, back from the army photos. And the doctor said that she was in remission. Now, this leukemia is a tricky thing. Cancer of the blood versus cancer of an organ. It's easier when you could just remove an organ and leave it at that. But this was cancer in her blood, and the cancer crept into her bone marrow, where they had to periodically drill into her hip bone for a bone marrow biopsy to see if there was any cancer in her bone marrow. Fun job, drilling into her hip bone. You wonder why there are so many hip replacement surgeries now. Look at how doctors test now. A little bone pulled here, a little bone pulled there. Well, anyway, the doctor said that she was in remission. Happy, happy, joy, joy. But because this cancer of the blood thing is tricky, they are going to give her another round of chemo, just to be on the safe side, because, you know, if people don't go through this extra round of chemo, the leukemia is more likely to actually come back. So Mom took the chemo, and she recovered at my sister's house until she was well enough to go back home and recoup in her own home. I visited her in her recoup time, just shy of my parents' 56th wedding anniversary. I bought the cologne Dad would give Mom for their anniversary while I was visiting. She hoped that when her hair grew back after the chemo, it would grow back curly, and it was. And she was so used to having a hairdresser style her hair into a beehive, and now she's where she always had to sleep on her nose because she had her hair done up all huge big, so her hairstyle would stay in place. And she'd have to do that during her next hairdresser appointment. Think of that. Really, think of that. Hi, I'll do this once a week, but I'm going to sleep on my nose to try to preserve my hair. What? Sorry, that's not in it, but just think about that. I could, what on earth, sorry. Anyway, I'll stop with that. But her hair was actually curling now, and she had bought curling hair gel, and she wore a little white hat. We always could pull off looking good in hats, and she curled the ends of her new short hair under her little cap. She looked so cute. Mom would work in the mornings, run errands, get groceries, and by lunchtime she would be tired and she'd want to watch her soap operas. But who could blame her? She's still recovering from all that chemo hell that she went through. All of her neighbors said it's amazing how well she's doing after she's gone through so much, and they were right. A month after I left from visiting, Mom started feeling tired, feverish, so Dad took her to the doctor, and they said, silly us, she wasn't in remission. They wanted to put her in hospice care immediately, and she looked at Dad, and they both instantly agreed to not give up that easily. So back to the University of Chicago hospitals. more chemo for Mom, a different chemical this time so she wouldn't lose her hair. But after she went through the chemo again, they found no change in her condition. And they said, "You've got two choices. Because you're immune to chemo now, you can go for experimental treatments, or you can decide to stop treatments." She said, "I don't want hospitals anymore." So she made her choice. And the doctor said she has 2 to 6 months to live, maybe as long as a year. And I said to her as she was getting platelets at the hospital, "Hey, when your father had cancer, Mom, doctors gave him 6 months to live. How long did he live?" And she said, 6 years. So this is something that she could beat. We Bakutas come from a strong stock. We can do anything. I know we can. But I don't think she wanted to fight. I think the pain in her bones was too strong, and I think she was tired of fighting a battle she couldn't win, so she let it take over. They said 2 to 6 months. She lived just shy of 3. She struggled through it all, not telling us about her pain, just taking her medicine, so to speak, and hoping everything would just kill her and get it over with. And I think emotionally, she made the choice despite us. I now sit and write this story, and my father is sleeping in front of the TV in his lounge chair next to me. He says it's more comfortable there to fall asleep. And I'm listening to his breathing while he sleeps, and I hear him panting every 30 seconds while he sleeps, like he's having nightmares about it all. And as I tell the story, there's still a panic in the air, even while he sleeps.